If you dig the twisted, admire the outlandish, and are enamored by the unusual, you're in the right place. True crime, the supernatural, the unexplained, now you're speaking our language. If you agree, join us as we dive into the darker side. You know, because it's more fun over here. Welcome to Total Conundrum.
Warning, some listeners may find the following content disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, Conundrum Crew. Welcome back to Total Conundrum. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Tracy. Today, folks, we're diving into a twisted tale of H.H. Holmes, the OG master of multitasking. You know, running a hotel, murder factory all at once. Casual Tuesday, right?
Absolutely, Tracy. But before we unravel the mayhem and madness, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. And if you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple, we're practically begging you to give us a 5-star rating and let the world know we are your favorite podcast.
We thrive on your love, people. It means a lot to us, and it helps us move up in the ranks. Now, on to H.H. Holmes. Jeremy, tell us about this multitasking maniac.
H.H. Holmes, the entrepreneur of nightmares. He's like the Gordon Ramsay of murder hotels. 5 stars of terror. But before we go any further, here's a quick shout out to our podcast pals. 3 Siblings Walk Into a Bar and A Couple of Couples podcast. We've traded trailers with them this week, so check out their show. And if you want to join the podcast trailer exchange, send us a message on Instagram.
Oh, I love those 2 podcasts. Daryl, Johnny, Drips and Drops from A Couple of Couples will definitely have you in stitches. And 3 Siblings Who Walk Into a Bar are 3 true-life siblings, Sage, Deshay, and Storm. Their banter will have you coming back for more. Now, back to Holmes, the multitasking maven. Jeremy, how did he pull off running a hotel and a murder factory simultaneously?
Well, Tracy, it's all about a work-life balance. Holmes took it to the next level. Imagine checking into a hotel and realizing your room comes with the side of serial killer. We're talking murder, mayhem, and probably a mint on the pillow as a cherry on top.
A poisoned mint on the pillow, maybe. Classy touch, Holmes. And listeners, if you have a favorite H.H. Holmes murder fact or your own true crime or supernatural experience, share it with us on social media or email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Your tales might just make it to the next episode.
So true. Now buckle up for the H.H. Holmes experience. It's like Disneyland, but with more screams and fewer churros. We'll be back after these messages.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to hang out with 3 siblings in a bar?
3 siblings that like to tell true crime and paranormal stories and are also hilarious?
I'm Deshay, the oldest sibling.
I'm Sage, the middle sibling.
And I'm Storm, the youngest sibling.
So come hang out with us every Monday for a new episode of 3 Siblings Walk Into a Bar, available on wherever you listen to your podcast.
Hey, Jeremy, how are you?
Good, Tracy. How are you?
I'm well. Well, we made it through the Christmas holiday.
Barely.
Barely. You got to stay home.
I know, it's awesome.
I went to Illinois to celebrate with my sister and her family. We got to take a limo ride to dinner. That was really fun.
That's awesome.
And my 2 little nephews, Richie and Max, oh my goodness. They are so into technology and YouTube, and they were so excited they wanted to create little shorts for us for on YouTube, and it was so cute. So I did post those, and they're looking for the likes. They want to get the likes. I keep getting messages from my sister. The boys want to know how many likes they have. They're going to make us go viral, they said.
Yeah.
So, and as you see, we are sporting our
Total
new
Conundrum wear.
merch.
Yeah.
I got the sweatshirt. You can't really see it very
You
well.
can't see
My camera
my
keeps
hat,
moving
though.
with me. But yeah, we got our merch in the mail. So that was like a little early Christmas present for us.
Pretty cool.
So we'll definitely order some more. The quality was really great. I love it.
Yeah.
And I had to go pink because girls just need a little pink in their life, you know?
Oh, yeah. I hear you.
So do we have any other news?
I don't think so.
All right.
Not that I know of.
I can't think of anything either. I think we are all
You're
caught
kind of
up.
more the newscaster than I am.
Beep, 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 beep. Breaking
I
news.
just kind of grunt and shake my head and say, yep, let's go.
Let's do this. Well, if that's all we have, to be able to buy our merch, if you're interested, you can go to bonfire.com/store/total conundrum.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where you can get all the special stuff. We do have a promo code for 10% off, and that code is TCP10.
Nice.
Nice.
Go get you some.
Get you some merch.
Get you some.
All right, Jeremy. Well, what do you got for us today?
Well, I think from my previous story, we kind of delved into H.H. Holmes a bit. We're going to talk about him a little bit.
Nice.
So I got a little story, and here's how it starts. H.H. Holmes was born Herman Webster Mudgett on May 16th, 1861, in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. Third child of Levi Horton Mudgett and Theodat Page Price Mudgett. Levi and Page had 5 children: Ellen P. Mudgett, Arthur P. Mudgett, Herman Webster Mudgett, Henry Levi Mudgett, and Mary Adams Mudgett. So Levi and Page both were descendant from the first English settlers in the area. They were devout Methodists. Levi worked as a farmer, trader, and house painter. He was also reportedly a heavy drinker who cruelly mistreated his family.
Well, that's not very nice.
No, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Holmes attended Phillips Exeter Academy before graduating high school with honors from Gilmanton Academy. When he was 16 years old, during school, Holmes was bullied by classmates due to his outstanding academic capabilities. In one incident, he was forced to stand in front of a human skeleton and put the skeleton's hands on his face.
A real life skeleton? Like
Real life skeleton.
not one you buy from Home Depot like us?
Oh, no. This one
Ew.
wasn't plastic. So, in an effort to frighten him, initially terrified, Holmes later discovered the experience to be intriguing and claimed that it helped him overcome his worries. Holmes subsequently developed an obsession with death as a result of the encounter.
Just from,
Just from that,
oh boy.
yeah. And later took up the pastime of dissecting animals. After graduating high school and at the age of 17, Holmes decided to get married to Clara Lovering and had a son, Robert Lovering Mudgett. Holmes enrolled in the University of Vermont at the age of 18, but was dissatisfied with the school and left after a year. In 1882, Holmes enrolled in the University of Michigan's Department of Medicine and Surgery and graduated in 1884. After passing his exams, while Holmes was enrolled, he worked in the anatomy lab. Housemates recalled that Holmes was physically violent with Clara, and in 1884, before he graduated, Clara moved back to New Hampshire.
She said, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. And with little contact with Holmes after that. Holmes would move to Moores, New York, and a rumor would spread that Holmes had been seen with a little boy who later disappeared. Holmes claimed that the boy went back home to Massachusetts. There was never any investigation into the case, and Holmes quickly left town.
So this little boy was last spotted with him,
Yeah,
disappeared.
disappeared.
He leaves town. Please tell me they go after him.
Nope.
What?
Nope. They just kind of let it go. So
Okay.
He left town and later traveled to Philadelphia and was hired as a keeper at Norristown State Hospital, which was a state mental hospital. He was employed as a druggist. He only lasted about a week and quit. After his stint at the hospital, Holmes got a job at a drugstore in Philadelphia.
Is a druggist kind of like a pharmacist
Yeah,
or like an assistant pharmacist or whatever?
yeah, basically.
Okay.
But while he was working there was a boy who died after taking medication that was purchased at the drugstore. Holmes denied any involvement in the child's death and immediately left the city.
I'm seeing a pattern already.
Oh, yeah, he likes to bail. At this point, in August 1886, Holmes started using the alias H.H. Holmes to avoid the possibility of being exposed by victims of his previous crimes. It is said that Holmes was a fan of Sherlock Holmes, and that is how he came up with the name. He decided to move to Chicago, where he would meet Maida Belknap. While still married to his first wife, Clara, he decided to marry Martha.
That doesn't work.
No,
While still married, he decides to
I
marry
don't
someone
know.
else.
Maybe back in that time period, it worked just fine. I don't know.
Probably no paper trail.
Yeah, well, definitely no paper trail. A few weeks after they got married, Holmes filed for divorce from Clara on the grounds of her committing adultery. The claims could not be proven, and the suit was never finalized. It was eventually dismissed. Holmes started working at a drugstore in Inglewood on the northwest corner of South Wallace Avenue and West 63rd Street, which was owned by Dr. Elizabeth Holton, and she gave Holmes a job. He proved to be a hardworking employee. He eventually purchased the store, and there is a lot of debate on whether he was sued for not paying Dr. Holton for the building. There are or were rumors that he killed Dr. Elizabeth Holton to get the property, which is not true. It appears that she eventually moved to California and died in 1933. Holmes purchased the lot right across the street from the drugstore, and in 1887, construction began to build a mixed-use building with apartments on the top and a new drugstore and other retail spaces. Holmes would hire contractors to build a specific aspect of the castle and fire them in the middle of the job for one of two reasons. One was that he didn't want anyone to know his exact floor plans. The other was to stop payment to the contractor under the claims that the contractor didn't do quality work. The building of the castle went on for months. Holmes had hired hundreds and hundreds of carpenters. Most would work for a short time, then move on. Holmes purchased a bank vault and had it installed in the basement, where he had walls built around the vault. He purchased the vault also on credit, which he never paid for. So the company threatened to repossess the safe, and Holmes told the company they could come and get the safe, but if they damaged his building at all, he would sue them for everything they were worth.
So it's
He is a con man.
yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Winchester mansion, how they kept building and building, and but she paid her contractors and didn't keep switching them, but
Well, I think she did switch them quite often.
oh, did she?
Yeah, because that was the thing. She would have them do specific tasks, and then once they were done with that task, they would leave.
Oh,
So, very similar.
okay.
So the company that sold them the vault eventually gave up and just wrote it off as a loss. At that point, Holmes had a long-standing history of having work done or purchasing items using credit and then never paying. The second floor of the castle was laid out in a normal manner, rooms for offices and rooms that he would rent out. The third floor was created as a maze or a labyrinth. The floor plan of the third floor was very unusual. There would be doors that went nowhere. They would open the door to a brick wall behind it, stairs that would not go anywhere. They later found small rooms the size of closets with trapdoors in the floors,
Ooh.
rooms that were set like torture rooms, hidden passages, a secret shaft that he would grease that went from the third floor all the way down to the basement.
Body shoot?
Yep, which is how
Ew.
yep, which is how he would move his victims' bodies around the castle to get them into the basement.
Not a fun, like, kids slide?
No, not an entertaining thing.
No.
The basement had many more stations set up that he would use to dismember the bodies, and he had a glass blowing furnace installed, which he would use to burn the bodies after he
Oh.
had basically filleted them.
No. So he
Yeah.
had his own crematorium in there.
Basically, yeah. And when it was installed, they questioned him on it, and he was like, "Well, we're doing glass blowing projects."
Oh my God. No, this reminds me. Do you remember when we did that tour, ghost tour in New Orleans? And
Yeah.
they showed that first pharmacy in America?
Yeah.
That guy had a chute that was above his garage or whatever. And he would take the carriage out at night. But it just reminds me, Holmes was like a pharmacist assistant or whatever. And then the chute, I wonder if he ever worked in New Orleans with that other crazy guy.
I don't know. I think there was some kind of mentions of
New Orleans?
but I'm not positive. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But that guy had the yellow, I think it was a yellow fever clinic or
Well, it was definitely something different. I mean,
yeah, he like was testing on people with yellow fever or some kind of disease from way back when. But the similarities are kind of crazy with the pharmacy and the chutes and
wasn't that story in like the 1900s or?
I would have to look it up. Maybe I'll do something. I should do a story on New Orleans. That would be fun.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
So he would then clean all the bones and reassemble their skeletons, put a price tag on them, and sell them to the medical schools and anatomy labs or whoever he could.
I'm pretty sure they didn't volunteer for that.
Oh, no. There were more torture devices found in the basement. One that Holmes claimed to be for turning humans into giants. It was a stretching machine that would pull the arms and legs. In 1889, Holmes met Benjamin Pizell, who had just arrived in Chicago in the fall. Benjamin was the type that seemed always to have a black cloud over his head. No matter his attempts, he would generally fail. He didn't have much luck holding down jobs. Benjamin was married and had 5 children. He was a family man, and he could do whatever he needed to sustain his family, including robbery and stealing. Struggling to provide, he eventually resorted to drinking heavily. Benjamin inquired about a job as a carpenter that Holmes had posted in the newspaper. Holmes and Benjamin became fast friends, and he would become Holmes's right-hand man and partner in crime. Holmes would become almost another member of Benjamin's family, even hanging out with his kids. Creepy.
I'm still stuck on the stretching machine. Oh.
Yeah, in the documentary, that's what you hear.
No, that's so wrong.
So, Chicago World Fair came to town in 1893. Over 20 million people from all around the world attended the fair. From May 1st to October 30th, 1893, Holmes would take advantage of the fair as a perfect opportunity to capitalize on his demented design of the castle. Holmes's castle was located just a few miles from the World's Fair, so it was a convenient location for accommodations close to the fairgrounds. Attracting lots of people, Holmes renovated the second and third floors with the finest furnishings and luxuries to fill the rooms, which he purchased on credit, which Holmes had no intentions of repaying.
I was going to say, he hasn't paid anything yet, so why would he start now?
Yeah, exactly. Holmes would bring Benjamin's children to the World Fairgrounds, where Holmes would use the children as a way to meet wealthy women. He would seduce and offer them a warm night's stay and a soft bed to sleep in. Holmes saw them as the perfect victim because they were not from Chicago. Nobody knew who they were. Nobody would come looking for them. Their families would know they went to the World Fair and just never came home. Some of the rooms in the castle were lined with asbestos to make them soundproof, making it easy for Holmes to commit his crimes. There were also gas lines going to each of these rooms, which Holmes would control from his office.
So asbestos, isn't that the stuff that they wrapped around pipes?
Yep,
Is that why they wrapped it around pipes to cover the sound?
yep.
Oh, I never knew that.
The rooms were designed to be airtight. He would then lead the victims into the rooms, thinking they were going to get a great night's sleep, and he would spy on them through a peephole in the walls.
Dirty bastard.
Exactly. Turning on the gas and wait for them to stop moving. Holmes was a busy man,
Oh my God.
gassing his victims, renting out rooms, hiding from creditors, selling skeletons, and seducing women who were in his life. And here I thought we were busy working and podcasting. Holmes took it to a whole different level.
Whole new level.
Whole different level.
Way up here.
So Hugh Hefner Holmes, which I'm
Ooh.
calling him,
I
as
like
he-
it.
Yeah, as he should have been called, sitting in his murder playboy castle, he was married to 3 women at the same time. The women of Chicago fancied the doctor and businessman.
Wow.
He was seducing many, many more women at this time, while somehow managing to keep it a secret from each of the women.
You kind of went
A
Forrest
little
Gump
southern there. In 1890, Julia Connor became one of Holmes' employees and mistresses.
there. Ooh.
Yeah, she had a daughter named Pearl, and they both resided in the castle. Julia became pregnant and demanded that Holmes marry her. Holmes agreed on the condition that she allow him to perform an abortion on her. And she agreed.
What?
Yeah.
He's not a doctor?
Well, technically he is. He went to med school. Yeah.
Uh,
And that's what I was saying on the Jack the Ripper case.
yeah, that's
is
right.
These guys spend a lifetime going through medical school. Well, most of them don't graduate, but he actually graduated from medical school.
Okay.
Yet he becomes a druggist.
Yeah.
It's like taking the
Druggist. That's a funny term.
yeah, and maybe druggists did more than just drug people. I don't know, but
Didn't he, maybe you'll get to this, or maybe it was somebody else I'm thinking of. Didn't he take out fake life insurance policies on bodies from the lab and then cashing in fake insurance policies?
He was actually doing that with his professor of the school. And that is why he quit school and changed his name to H.H. Holmes.
Okay.
So that was back before he became Holmes. He was still Mudgeon.
Mudgent.
Yeah.
So he is getting all this money from fake insurance policies, building a murder castle, but yet refused to pay anybody anything.
Yeah, maybe he's blowing it all on hookers. I don't know.
That he's killing, so he's not paying them either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my God, this guy's a Fruit Loop.
So neither Julia nor her daughter Pearl were ever seen again.
Of course not.
A week later, Holmes sold a clean, articulated skeleton in the Hahnemann Medical College for nearly $200.
That's a lot of money back
That's a
then.
lot of bones, yeah. Oh,
No pun intended.
maybe a little. In 1892, Holmes met Emmeline Segrand, who became another mistress of Holmes. She also worked for Holmes as a private secretary.
Oh yeah, secretary.
Secretary.
Yeah, a secretary.
Yeah. One day, Holmes requested that Emmeline go retrieve some papers from the vault.
Don't go into the vault.
Don't go in the vault. And once she entered the vault, guess what happened?
Slam door shut. Gas came on
Yeah, he closed the door.
for
He
no
didn't-
reason.
He didn't gas her, though,
No.
but sealing her inside while waiting for her to suffocate to death. Yeah. I mean, the gas would have been almost nicer.
Yeah.
Quicker.
What an
Two-
asshole.
What an ass. 2 weeks later, Holmes sold a female skeleton to the University of Chicago. What a coinky dinky.
Yeah, right?
Just a year later, in 1893, Holmes hired a new private secretary, Minnie Williams.
Oh, boy. Run, Minnie,
Run,
run.
Minnie! She would also become the next mistress. Minnie was the beneficiary of a property in Fort Worth, Texas, valued at over $40,000.
Wow.
Holmes seduced Minnie into signing over the property.
Was he a good-looking guy?
He was a good-looking guy, I guess. I mean,
He's a creeper.
yeah, he's a creeper. I mean, he looks creepy to me, but apparently all the women
Did he have a handlebar mustache?
kind of, yeah. Yeah. Should have been a biker, I guess. So then he decided he's going to kill Minnie and her younger sister, Nanny.
What did Nanny do?
I don't know. In 1894, Georgina Yoke became Holmes's third wife.
Oh, my God. These women.
I know. They flocked to this crazy doctor. He married her under the name of Henry Mansfield Howard. Like Holmes's other wives, Georgina lived out the rest of her entire life. So he wasn't killing his wives. So, that would have been the way to go, I guess. Just marry the dude. Then you're safe. Benjamin Pizzel's drinking was getting worse, and employees would hear Pizzel and Holmes fighting about money. Holmes knew that Pizzel was familiar with Holmes's dirty dealings, and started fearing that he would start spreading it around town in one of his drunken stupors. Holmes had decided that Pizzel had outlived his usefulness, so Holmes devised a plan. Holmes had Pizzel take out a life insurance policy on his life, listing Pizzel's wife as the beneficiary of the policy. Holmes told Pizzel that they would fake his death in Philadelphia, which is where the insurance company was located. Holmes would then substitute a cadaver in place of Pizzel. After his fake death, Pizzel would go underground for a while, and then they would split the proceeds. They decided to take this act all over the country, committing fraud in numerous states. Alexander E. Cook, A.C. Hayes, G. Hall. These are just a few of the other aliases that Holmes would use during this time of his cross-country fraud adventures.
That's crazy.
Yeah. In 1894, Holmes attempted to swindle another drugstore owner in St. Louis, and this time he failed. And for the first time in his criminal career, he got caught and went to jail.
Ooh.
While
Lock him up.
Lock him up. Throw away the key.
That's right.
While in jail, his cellmate was Marion Hedgepeth, who was a very notorious outlaw. Holmes told Hedgepeth about his insurance scheme, and Hedgepeth gave Holmes the name of a crooked lawyer who could help with Pizzel's insurance policy. In exchange, Holmes would agree to pay Hedgepeth $500 for the policy payout. Holmes was bailed out of prison by his new wife, Georgina Yoke, after he spun lies about why he was incarcerated. 2 weeks later, Holmes and Pizzel arrived in Philadelphia. They decided that 1316 Callow Hill Street be the location of their insurance scam. Pizzel tells his wife, Carrie, about the scam, and she begs him not to go through with it. After some convincing, she finally agrees. Pizzel becomes the alias B.F. Perry, a patent dealer. 1 month later, a customer walks into the patent office to talk about an idea for a patent. He walks into the office empty, decides to walk upstairs to see if anybody is around, and finds B.F. Perry dead on the floor. The facts aren't quite clear, but they think H.H. Holmes got Pizzel drunk and then used chloroform, and then faked a kind of explosion that had supposedly taken place in the house among these various chemicals that were there. Then he burnt Pizzel's face and disfigured him so he wouldn't be recognized. Holmes had to go in and identify the body as being Benjamin Pizzell and also Pizzell's daughter Alice. Carrie believes that her husband is in hiding because of the scam that her husband told her about. Both Holmes and Alice identified the body as Benjamin Pizzell. Back then, there wasn't identification by fingerprints since fingerprinting didn't start until 1903. So they used a method called the Bertillon method, where they would take measurements from the body, the arm span of the person, the width of the head, length of their feet. After the identification, the coroner ruled it was an accidental death. Holmes put Alice up in a hotel in Indianapolis. Upon Holmes' return, Carrie is shaken by Alice and Benjamin. He convinces her that Alice and Benjamin are safe and that it's best to take Nellie and Howard to stay with their father. Holmes told her that with investigators investigating the insurance case, it would be better if she wasn't seen traveling with 5 children. The insurance company ruled it an accidental death and paid out the insurance claim to Carrie Pizzell. Holmes would then swindle most of the money from her in promising to reunite their family and needing the money to make that happen.
They're not coming home, right?
They're not coming home. Holmes would then separate the children into different locations, only blocks from one another. Holmes, at this point, is enjoying this game of keeping this family separated.
What a sick, sadistic bastard.
Yes, he is. He gets so distracted, he forgets about the deal he made with Hedgepeth. Hedgepeth reads in the newspaper that Pizzell is dead, and he goes to the warden and tells him all about the insurance fraud conspiracy and the murder of Benjamin Pizzell. The warden then contacted the insurance company, and the insurance company sent out the Pinkertons out on the trail after Holmes. The Pinkertons were known for tracking down fugitives from one end of the earth to the other.
So like a modern day Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Pretty much. They were the original badasses, though. Their motto is, "We never sleep."
So were they like the ones that would go after like Jesse James?
You betcha. Those are the ones.
Ooh.
So as a good Wild West history will tell you, the Pinkertons weren't people you wanted to mess with.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, as they always get their man. They were also the innovators of the mugshot. When capturing criminals, they would photograph and catalog them into a database. After a lengthy search, the Pinkerton finally caught and arrested Holmes on November 17th, 1894 in Boston. He was then transported to Myomensing Prison in Philadelphia. He was tried for conspiracy to cheat and defraud the Fidelity Mutual Life Insurance Company. Holmes pled guilty to the fraud charges and insisted that Pizzell committed suicide. They interviewed Holmes for weeks, trying to find out the whereabouts of Pizzell's children. And Holmes kept making up different stories each time. Finally, one of the detectives on the case went to try to trace Holmes' traveling destination locations that he had been seen in for months, up until he was caught. Ended up finding the charred remains of Howard Pizzell in a stove in a house in Indianapolis. And they dug up the remains of Alice and Nellie Pizzell in a cellar of a house in Toronto. We'll be back after these messages.
Welcome to a world of love, friendship, laughter, and everything in between. Get ready for the Couple of Couples podcast, the ultimate podcast about life, hosted by a fantastic foursome. We've got not one, but 2 couples ready to discuss a wide variety of topics, interests, and current events. Join us as we take you on an often hilarious and rarely heartfelt journey through the ups and downs of life. Regardless of your walk of life, there's something for everyone on this podcast. Meet Daryl, Drips, Johnny, and Drops.
Hi, I'm Daryl. I'm a professional nerd, avid gamer, and the self-proclaimed podfather.
I'm Drips, also known as D-Rips, and also not the most articulate.
I'm Drops, listening to find out if I am being held against my will.
And I'm Johnny. I'm willing to do and try most things, and I'm willing to say, well, anything.
Each episode, these four fabulous friends will tackle topics like forming friendships, weird science, Delta gummies, origin stories, ear-biting lorikeets, juicy man booties, conspiracies, aliens, ghosts, pop culture, TV, music, and more. And the best part? That was only the first 9 episodes. Let us take you on a journey through the highs and lows of what it means to be alive with witty banter, non-expert advice, and hilarious stories that'll have you in stitches.
If you're looking for the next great podcast, then grab your phone, tablet, or laptop and subscribe to the Couple of Couples podcast on your favorite platform today. It's free, and it's the best way to make sure you never miss an episode. Don't miss out on the laughs, the love, the occasional, did they really just say that? Moment, and some jaw-dropping surprises you won't want to miss.
And speaking of love, let's spread it like confetti. Like, follow, and share our podcast on social media. And don't forget to visit our website at www.coupleofcouplespodcast.com to find links to our show on your favorite platform, links to our social media accounts, contact us, or listen to the latest episodes directly from our website.
Join us on this roller coaster ride as we dip, dive, twist, and turn through everything that the universe throws our way. And don't forget to check out our merchandise store, which can be accessed through our website at www.coupleofcouplespodcast.com, featuring custom designs based on our sound bites from your favorite episodes: shirts, hoodies, mugs, tote bags, and more.
Couple of Couples podcast. Because when it comes to love and laughter, 4 heads are better than 1. But a dose of laughter, love, and a little bit of craziness? Subscribe now and be part of our fantastic podcast family. Subscribe, like, follow, and share. Let's make love and laughter go viral.
After the stories of the children came out, he was almost instantly nationally notorious serial killer.
Well, dude gets around.
He gets around. And in my own words, a giant douche shoot. On July 19th, 1895, Chicago police entered Holmes's castle. The world would now learn the horrors inside these walls.
Yeah.
They would find bones on the basement floor and chains hanging on the walls, tables that were covered with blood and remnants of flesh,
Gross.
surgical knives, and saws that were used in dismembering the bodies of the victims.
Hasn't he ever heard of a housekeeper?
Nope. Well, he always kills them all. He can't keep them. Hair ripped from the scalp of one of his victims. They also found blood-stained undergarments, containers of body parts, and fluids of some kind. After investigating the castle, the police were inundated with the names of people who went missing during the World Fair. Eventually, 50 people missing were traced to the murder castle of H.H. Holmes. Due to the time and knowledge of the investigators, almost all of what we know about forensic science today didn't exist back then. So many of the victims could not be identified. Even just telling human bones from animal bones was very difficult back then. The public is now coining Holmes the monster of 63rd Street, torture doctor, and the modern Bluebeard.
Bluebeard?
Yep. I don't know why, but
Interesting.
after the stories broke, people were now fascinated with Holmes and his murder castle, to the degree that they wanted to preserve the castle as a museum of the murders that took place there.
Burn that shit to the ground.
Yeah, speaking of that,
Oh.
before they had a chance to turn it into the murder mystery funhouse that all the neighborhood kids surely would have loved,
Oh my God. That's so sadistic.
somebody burnt it down.
Yay. Somebody had the wherewithal.
Yeah. So while in prison, Holmes wrote an autobiography
Of course he did.
entitled Holmes' Own Story.
Holmes' own story.
Yep. Where he writes, "My sole object in this publication is to vindicate my name from the horrible aspirations cast upon it, and to the appeal of a fair-minded American public for a suspension of judgment and for a free and fair trial, which is the birthright of every American citizen and the pride and bold work of our American Constitution." Holmes was working hard to convince the public of his innocence. He had worked fast because his trial date was approaching quickly, so he was reaching out to anyone that would listen. The trial date was set for September 23rd, 1895. There was a postponement due to Holmes' legal counsel wanting to resign. The judge denied the counsel's request and demanded that he show up for court or be disbarred.
Well, that's not fair.
Well, it kind of is. I mean, I guess, because you take on this job.
People can resign from it nowadays. Was it not allowed back then, or?
I don't know.
I mean, obviously the man's guilty,
Obviously the guy just didn't like him. So
right?
Holmes would now have to stand trial for all his heinous crimes. The trial took place in Philadelphia City Hall on October 28th, 1895. The trial proved to be a show of the ages, filled with manipulation and theatrics, which were acted, directed, and produced by none other than H.H. Holmes himself. He was the star of his own Broadway show and pretty much his only fan.
Oh my.
On the first day of the trial, Holmes ended up firing his legal counsel again
Again?
and representing himself.
That'll work.
Yeah, that always works.
Works every time.
Yeah. Despite advice from the judge, after a while, Holmes had a change of heart again and wanted his lawyer back. Of course, this is after he was asked some very tough questions he couldn't explain away. On day 3 of the trial, they put Carrie Pizzell on the stand. They showed her a letter from her daughter Alice that had been written that Holmes never sent to Carrie. She started weeping uncontrollably. Eventually, everyone in the courtroom was crying and weeping. Everyone but Holmes. Just kept doodling on his notepad, but later Holmes' most recent wife, Georgina Yoke, enters the courtroom. And all of a sudden, Holmes starts crying uncontrollably. The jury reacted to this show of emotion as one of a very desperate man putting on a show. The defense closed its case based on closing arguments alone. There would be no statement from Holmes. The crowd who waited so long to hear from Holmes were angry and disappointed. H.H. Holmes' case was the most covered case of its time. From today's perspective, it would probably compare to the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. Maybe just sadder and more depressing in a different way.
Unless pooping on someone else's bed.
Likely as big as the O.J. Simpson trial of the day.
If it does not fit, you must acquit.
You must acquit. Holmes knew he was done the second that the jury sat down. Not a single one would look at him. The moment that Holmes had never thought could possibly occur, a guilty verdict. He was found guilty of murder in the first degree.
Yes.
And was hung on May 7th, 1896. Just 9 days before his 35th birthday.
35th?
35th.
The whole time I'm thinking this guy is like in his 50s or 60s or something.
Yeah, you would think, right?
35th
35th.
birthday? Please tell me the hanging failed and he suffered.
No. So at 10:25 a.m., he is pronounced dead. Holmes's body was placed in a casket by his request. He was transferred into another coffin that was half filled with concrete. Then he was placed into the coffin, and they poured more concrete over him, covering his body in concrete.
Because the stupid bastard didn't want anybody else to take his skeleton, right?
Yep. They took the casket to Holy Cross Cemetery in Yeadon, Philadelphia.
Yeadon?
Yeadon. I don't know.
It sounded like the year, like, you know, the Lederhosen. Lederhosen.
Yeah. They dug a grave 10 feet deep and placed the casket into the ground.
10 feet?
10 feet.
Oh.
Yep. Crazy, right?
I'm glad they're, you know, accommodating him, so.
Yeah, I mean, they are nice. In the ground after pouring 8 large barrels of concrete on top of that. They then placed an empty casket on top of the concrete and filled the rest of it with dirt. On May 6, 2017, Penn archaeologists exhumed the body of H.H. Holmes. Took them 10 days to exhume the body out of the earth and concrete. They found a cross with H.H. Holmes written on it. They also did a DNA testing, and the best they could conclude is that it is in line with the Mudgett family lineage. His body was placed into a white coffin and then put back into his grave on August 31st, 2017.
No concrete this time?
No concrete this time. At least they didn't mention any.
Somebody go dig him up. Sell a skeleton.
So there are many rumors and speculations when it comes to H.H. Holmes, down to the number of victims, including H.H. Holmes and Jack the Ripper. The Jack the Ripper murders took place between 1888 and 1889. And at that time, it is said that H.H. Holmes was already in the progress of building his murder castle. But who knows? We may never know. Sadly, that is the burden of time. This was an interesting story filled with a lot of information, way too much to delve into in just one podcast. So, Conundrum Crew, feel free to pick up where I left off and fill in any interesting gaps that I might have missed. I'm feeling an H.H. Holmes grave trip to Philly, and then on the way back, maybe check out the location where the murder castle used to reside.
Yeah, it's a post office now.
It's a post office.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I've heard it's haunted.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Supposedly it is anyways, but
Yeah.
I did watch a documentary on a guy that took a trip out there, and they wouldn't let him into the basement of the post office. So
Yeah.
apparently post office sits kind of in between the two lots,
Oh.
but the basement of the post office actually goes underneath that.
Other lot.
Yeah, that other lot.
Okay.
So
Weird.
supposedly that's where it's haunted at.
I'm sure we drove by it when we were in Chicago. Because it said it was only a couple miles from where the World's Fair was, and wasn't the Navy Pier, the now Navy Pier?
I think so, yeah.
'Cause-
But yeah, I'm not sure if we were close because that Inglewood is actually a couple miles
okay.
away from.
I'll
but
tell you what, people, if you ever want to experience something that seems like it's the apocalypse going on, go to downtown Chicago on Thanksgiving. We went there to take my son out. He was in basic training for the Navy, and we got to take our soldiers out for the day. And we went down to the Navy Pier, and there was us and one other family with another Navy basic training recruit, whatever. And the streets were empty, and there was nobody to be found.
yeah, it was very ghostly out
It
there. that's
was,
for- and it was kind of a gray and drizzly day.
It was.
so-
It felt like very why can't I say that now?
apocalyptic.
Yes.
Apocalyptic.
Because when I was there with my sister years before, the city's just bustling. I mean,
Well, yeah, when things are open.
yeah,
and
there was no
people are
cards on the
moving.
road or anything. It was
No
kind of
stores
creepy.
open,
No, nothing. Well, that was an incredible story. I learned so many things that I did not know about him.
Yeah, I did too. And, it's funny, starting this story, I wasn't that intrigued, but as I started writing it, I started getting a little bit more and more excited about it as it went on. And like I said, there's a lot of detail to this story. There's a lot more speculations and rumors
Oh, yeah.
that people could dive into. It's just there was so much information and so many different trails that you could follow.
He didn't kill those other kids, did he? He just separated them, right?
No, he killed them.
All of the kids?
Well, 3 of the ones that he had.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but the one boy, Henry, he was found in that house in Indianapolis in the stove. And then Alice and Nanny, I think her name was, they both were found in the same house, buried underneath, I think, or
Oh my
I can't
gosh.
remember.
How did I miss that?
Yeah.
I thought he just separated them and had them in different. I thought they were just literally living their lives in different houses.
No.
Not.
and the documentary that I watched, they kind of left that a little out there,
Well, and this wasn't that the family that he became part of
Yeah.
in the beginning?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Puzzle was the friend,
Right.
business partner.
Yeah, I guess I was just in my my unicorn haven thinking that the kids were just fine.
Nope.
Just
They
blocked it out.
They are not fine. But they did write. Yeah, the one thing that I didn't add in there is, so Alice, which is the oldest daughter, she kept writing letters to send back to Carrie, and they never got to her. So he must have kept them around for a while.
Right.
And then, I don't know, I guess at some point he just knew something was coming down the line, and he had to get rid of them.
That is insane. He's insane.
He's insane.
Oh my God.
So, but that's my story.
It was amazing. And the one part that you talked about how they identified people by the measuring of the feet and the arms. And
Yeah,
I never knew
it's-
that either.
It's funny because, yeah, I mean, you're back in a time where
There was nothing.
there was nothing. No,
Dental records, nothing.
nothing. But, yeah, I mean, once the 1900s started popping off, then, you started getting more things like fingerprinting and,
Right.
the Pinkertons with their mugshotting.
Yes.
You know.
Well, yeah, and they had a database, so I'm assuming it was just like a book.
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't a computer database.
Now I
It
want to
was just-
research the yeah.
Well,
I want to
that-
research the Pinkertons.
That would be an interesting story
Yeah.
because all the names that you could come across, like trying to think of some of the ones that they actually, well, one of the things that they did is they prevented the first assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Really?
Yep. And apparently they couldn't prevent the second one. But, and then there was a bunch of other stuff that they've done.
Yeah, I think their story would be really cool, and I don't think I've ever heard any stories done on them. So
Oh,
that,
you got to watch more Westerns.
well, I mean, on podcast platform.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think I've heard many people do stories of the Pinkertons. I know I had heard of them, but I didn't even know for sure what they were. I didn't realize they were like the
Yeah, they're
you know,
basically
the bounty hunters of the West, the Old West.
The Old West.
I love the Old West. It's so cool.
Me too.
Except for the, just shooting people in the street randomly and,
Well,
Well, you guys, don't forget, I forgot to show this in the beginning. We also have, that light is a little bit harsh on that, but we also have our coffee cups for the merch. They turned out so cute. I love our little pink brain.
I like them too.
He's so cute. So again, if you want to get any merch, you go to bonfire.com/store/total conundrum.
Yeah.
And we really would love to have some stories. So email us your stories because we would love to share them.
Yeah.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff.
Give us a review.
A review, yes,
All that
definitely.
good stuff. Just do it all.
Yeah, and maybe we should do a contest for people who go out there and review. Do like a month-long contest, and then we'll do a drawing. This is just, I haven't talked to Jeremy about this yet. Just coming up with this right now. And maybe we can make the prize some Total Conundrum merch.
Ooh. Definitely something to talk about.
Yeah, we'll figure it out and let you guys know.
All
But
right.
until next time.
Later.
Later. Happy New Year. Love
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.